Well, we all know the risk we take when we're online, the risk of a cyber attack. It's a reality nearly 3 million people are dealing with today after someone recently hacked into Adobe Systems, which is a digital company. Now, Adobe says information such as customer names, credit and debit card numbers, and expiration dates may all have been compromised. Adobe says it is notifying users and resetting passwords. Federal law enforcement is helping with an investigation. It's attacks like those that businesses and consumers fear the most. And Brian has more on that.
Well, Lisa, cyber attacks like that can not only cost a customer a lot of money and headaches, but businesses too. In fact, studies show one cyber attack can cost a small business about $9,000. Whether you're the business owner or consumer, there are ways you can protect your personal information. And joining us today to tell us how is entrepreneur and television reality star Bill Rancic. Bill, thanks for being with us today. So, first, we know you from being on TV with your family, but you have a business background. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, I sure do. I started my first business almost right out of college. I was 23 years old and started in a small studio apartment, and it slowly got bigger and bigger. And then the opportunity to be on The Apprentice came calling that first season, and then I was able to win that first show, and just kind of took off from there.
So it's just obviously on your way. You have some simple advice that people can take to keep their private information private. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Small businesses in particular are really falling victim to cyber attacks because, they don't have the layers in place and the IT departments that big corporations have. So I teamed up with the people at AT&T and we created a little bit of a checklist, 3 simple steps that small businesses and people can take in order to protect themselves. And the first one is real simple. Just keep it clean. Keep your PC clean, keep your mobile device clean, keep your servers clean if you have a server, and make sure you've got the latest software installed to make sure that you're protecting yourself, the virus software. It's critical. Secondly, you got to protect your data. And there's so many companies out there that have affordable online data backup. If you do that, and if an attack does happen, you're protected. But also, make sure you have a safe, secure password that you change often. And thirdly, it's all about making sure that you take the proper steps to educate yourself and your employees on what to look for, what to avoid, and if you do that, knowledge is power. You can really reduce your odds of being a victim.
How dangerous are these cyber attacks?
Well, they're dangerous, but they're also costly. For a small business, it's an average of $9,000 to recover from a cyber attack, and oftentimes small businesses don't have that. When you're first starting out, you're just trying to make the payroll and keep the lights on and pay the rent. And if you get hit with an attack like this, $9,000 is devastating.
We talk about businesses, but really, this is something everyone needs to pay close attention to.
Yeah, absolutely. We're all victim, and this technology has really enhanced our lives, but it's also made them a little bit more complicated. But it doesn't have to be. I always say, don't be penny wise and pound foolish. Take the time, take the proper steps to make sure you're protected, and I'll tell you what, in the long run, you're going to be glad you did it, because once you fall victim, and I know a lot of people who've fallen victim. My wife, great example, she had someone who phished her email account, and it was devastating. It took a lot of her time to recover and find the problem, and I'll tell you what, had she taken the proper steps, it would have never happened, and she would have been glad she did it.
You brought up passwords, obviously, and there's passwords for literally everything that we use online. How can we protect ourselves to make sure that our passwords are not breached?
Well, you change them often, and I think by changing them on a frequent basis, it's a lot harder for someone to breach your password, and make sure you have them in a safe place. A lot of times we'll put our passwords in areas that are accessible very easily. So again, technology's out there. There's a lot of password saving apps that you can use that are safe and secure, and you got to make sure that you're doing business with the right companies.
Obviously, a lot of information people need to know. And switching gears a little bit, how is life for you and Juliana and, of course, baby Duke?
Things are great. We're filming the 7th season of the Juliana and Bill show, and our little guy's, he's 13 months old, and he's all boy. I'll tell you, he's into everything. It's great.
And there's a lot of chatter out there. Are there any plans to expand the family?
Well, we're definitely talking about it, and I think if we're going to have another one, we'd like to keep them close in age. So I'm not getting any younger. So if we're going to do it, we better do it now rather than later.
Certainly keeping busy. Bill Rancic, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, very
Appreciate
good. And Bill's certainly climbed the ladder of success in the business world. Maybe you want to do the same, but forget about working for someone else. Ever dream of being your own boss? Today we learn the top mistakes entrepreneurs make and how to avoid them.
Nancy Hans is in constant motion, churning out homemade goodies using only organic ingredients.
Everyone these days is thankfully getting more educated on food labeling.
The former system analyst combined a love of cooking with her quest to provide healthy treats for her two best friends. After 2 years, the Wolf Stop Bakery is now breaking even financially. She's already beaten the new business odds. 25% of all startups are out of business after 1 year. 54% are gone after 5. Rebecca Harris knows that harsh reality all too well. She calls herself a serial entrepreneur. She's been a no-cholesterol cookie maker and developed the Nettle Knot, a huge net that protects ocean swimmers from jellyfish. Both ventures went by the wayside.
I did not write business plans for those companies.
When it comes to anyone opening a business, lacking a clear focus is one of the top reasons they fail. Also, don't underestimate your startup costs. Calculate how much you'll need to keep running for 3 years and then add 50% to it. Harris advises everyone to do only what you absolutely love. That was finally the key to Harris's success with a publishing company she founded 20 years ago.
I think I had total passion for this.
She started the business in her basement and sold it for a large profit after hitting the $1 million mark. Reaching that goal and passion are the driving forces for Nancy Hans. When sales are slow, she dreams up her next shape or flavor.
I still am thinking about other things to, make those tails wag.
Future planning to keep money coming in and dough going out the door.
Here are some other tips to keep in mind when opening a business. First, experts say don't hire close friends. 75% of the time, it doesn't work out. Also, don't underestimate the time commitment. It can lead to burnout. Another piece of advice, don't fear failure. In fact, be prepared for it. It's normal to have failures along the way before reaching big success. Well, still to come on Delmarva Life, we're in the kitchen putting together a lobster roll. How to cook it and how to get the best meat. We'll get a little lesson on lobster. And from the sea to sweets and snacks, going to the movie theater just isn't the same unless you make a stop at the concession stand. But have you ever thought about how much sugar and calories are packed into those jumbo snacks and drinks? Well, brace yourself, the answer may scare you. And while we're talking about health and food, Dr. Oz gives us the skinny on sugar.
There's a misconception that eating too much table sugar is the cause of diabetes. Sure, if you're down a couple of cans of soda every day, that's the equivalent of a 5-pound bag of sugar every month, you might find your blood as sweet as syrup. But that's not the only sugar high in town. The glycemic index is a value given to foods according to how they affect your blood sugar. Foods with a glycemic index of 55 or lower will raise the blood sugar just a little bit. Foods with a glycemic index of 70 or above, that'll spike your sugar higher than a pair of high-heeled shoes. High-fiber foods like bran are low, and corn flakes are high. Everyone reacts to food differently, and the glycemic index should not be used in isolation. So I throw it into the equation. You put a little extra fiber in almost any food you eat, you reduce that glycemic index.